Great. Okay. All right, so Katie, I'm going to go ahead and get going. I will rely on you to sort of keep track of who's coming in. Katie, is there anything you wanted to say before we dive in?
Not really. Just thank you all. Well, there is one thing. So thank you all for being here. And I just want to say that Holly and I, when we were figuring out dates and times and all that stuff for the registration, we decided so part of the registration period, um, which is December 15th to the 29th, Holly will be away and unavailable. So I just want to say right off the bat that if you have any issues during registration, please reach out to me. You can CC Holly as well, but mostly me um, on that stuff so that I can help you along.
Awesome. Thank you, Katie. And before I start, I want to say a big thank you to Christy Rotarius, who laid a really great foundation for us this year to move forward with our online auditions. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Um, I have a little slideshow that I'm going to go through as quickly as I can. And then at the end of the meeting, we are going to watch the short training videos that National has provided to us that specifically deal with the different types of categories. So, oops. So, to start off with, we're just going to go over the dates for this year. So, we are going to do the Puget Sound chapter auditions online, not in person like we did last year. Our idea to do every other year online is to allow for the greatest participation possible. And we have had lots of feedback telling us that if we offer online auditions, more people will participate. So we're going to try this plan of going every other year in person and then online. This year we will have the same dates for both the Puget Sound chapter and the Western Washington district student auditions. All will be online by video. So here is an outline of those dates. Our registration will open on December 15th. The deadline is December 29th. Video vetting will happen between January 2nd and 4th, but teachers, do please vet your own videos before you close off your registrations. And then adjudicating will be January 5th through 15th with a winner's announcement tentatively on January 17th. If that changes, we'll let you know, but that is what our plan is for the winner's announcement. It's January 17th, which is a Saturday. Oops. Okay, here's the grand timeline for the entire cycle this year. The Puget Sound chapter in Western Washington district is your first stop. That's what we just discussed. Fees will be the same this year, $35 for your first category per student. If that student wants to register for an additional category or an additional 2 categories, those will be a $20 additional fee. And then if students should go on to the regional round, there are the dates for the regional auditions, which is a $20 registration fee per category. Registration is between February 1st and February 19th. Adjudication will happen between February 8th and March 15th, and winners are announced in the middle of March. And then finally, if you have students going on to the preliminary national round, that deadline will happen April 10th. And there's a lot more information about that on the national website. All students are required to adjudicate this year. We are not going to do a fee if teachers need to get out of adjudicating. We don't have a good system for that. It was kind of messy last year, and then that puts the onus on us to find an adjudicator to replace you, and we have so much other stuff to deal with that it just kind of is the thing that is too much. So each of you must adjudicate if you are entering students. If for any reason you cannot adjudicate, then you must find a qualified replacement adjudicator and let us know who that person is before the deadline of December 29th so that we know to add their information and to reach out to them to communicate with them what they need to know. Also, if you have more than 25 registrations, and that doesn't mean 25 students, that means 25 individual entries. So maybe you have one student who's entering 3 categories, that would count as 3 registrations. If you are entering more than 25 registrations, we also need you to find an additional adjudicator so that we have enough adjudicators to spread those duties out fairly. And finally, please do renew your membership. We all need to be members in 2026 in order to participate in this student audition cycle. Katie, I see you have something to add.
Yeah, just wanted to chime in that if you need me to send you a list of our NATS teachers for this area, or even, I mean, since this video, we could even branch out to other districts of NATS teachers, and I have those lists of contacts. So if you are in a bind and you know you're not going to be able to adjudicate, we can help you find somebody.
Absolutely. And also, yeah, that's a good point, Katie. Please don't feel like you have to find someone who's from the Puget Sound region to do that. If you know a wonderful adjudicator who lives in California or New York, that's totally fine. And it is up to you if you want to compensate that person or if you need to compensate that person. We don't need to know about that. That is totally up to you to do. You just need to find us someone who can take over that job for you. Okay. A couple of things to note this year. We are working hard to align our categories exactly with National, which is something that National is very much trying to get chapters to do. The only exception I'm aware of in our Puget Sound chapter this year is we are leaving in the category for older avocational adults that's over 60, and that category will not move forward after the chapter level. Otherwise, we are working to align exactly with the national categories. But we know we have a large amount of entries in some categories and that we have to subdivide those in order to not have a huge category. So when we do that, we will try to be really precise this year about dividing those by age groups. So if we have, for instance, a huge amount of entries in the lower high school treble musical theater, which sometimes happens, then we will try to divide by the 2 grade levels. We may not say that specifically, but that's what we're working to do so that it's a more fair room for each subdivided part of that category. This year is not a year for general spiritual categories. The American Negro spiritual categories will participate again in the next cycle. This year is only for the Hall Johnson spirituals. And if you have students interested in that, please see the approved repertoire list that is on the website at the national level. I don't think we've had a problem with this, but National is making a big deal out of making sure we know that all commercial music categories, the singers must be using a dynamic mic, a mic that they hold or that they sing into that's on a stand, not a digital microphone. This can be achieved, let me rewind. If you're using a dynamic mic, that can either be used so that the microphone feeds into a speaker that then feeds into the space, and then you're recording from a camera that just takes the audio from the space, or that dynamic mic can feed directly into the camera. That's fine. We just need to see the student using the mic on camera. And there is a brand new prize this year at the national level. This is only for post-high school classical categories, so college classical categories or advanced. And this is the Gerald Ginsberg Repertoire Prize. So if there is a student who makes it to the live round at the national level and presents a piece by Gerald Ginsberg, they will be eligible for this $1,000 award. For those of you new to this process, we use a software called Auditionware to register our students for the events. And it's the same system that you used last year to register your students for the in-person event that we held. To do this, you need to go to the national website, nats.org, log in. And if you have trouble logging in, you can reach out to the folks at National. They will help you with that. Go to the member home page, which you will find in the menu, and then scroll all the way down the page and you'll see a green button that says Auditionware. And when you click on the green button, that will take you to this software system where you will register. And once our event is live, that will be December 15th, you will have the option to choose either Puget Sound Chapter or Western Washington District, depending on which students you are registering. And Auditionware pretty much walks you through the process. I have had some issues using it in the Safari browser, so I usually try to use Chrome. But you can reach out to us if you're having trouble. And there's also a really great document on the national website, and I believe Katie has also linked to it on our Puget Sound Nats website, that has sort of a handbook guide for how to use Auditionware. So just a reminder, you'll want to choose the Puget Sound chapter to register your students if you are registering children and youth categories, high school categories, and all adult avocational categories. Those are the only age groups that will be in the Puget Sound chapter auditions. Then if you have students that you're entering who are post-high school or college age, advanced or non-traditional, so non-traditional are students pursuing or holding degrees in music and whose age or level of study falls outside the limits of the other categories. These are the three categories of students that we will be entering in the Western Washington District auditions, and we will combine with our colleagues at the Tahoma chapter for those auditions, just like we did last year. Of note, there are some categories that do not advance to the nationals. These include the non-traditional categories, the adult avocational categories, and the two advanced musical theater categories. National would like advanced musical theater singers to enter their national musical theater competition, which is a different competition that has different requirements. So if you have advanced age musical theater singers, please look into that option. Video recording, upload, and guidelines. Okay, this is really important. Please, 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 everyone, if you have not recently done so, please read the video submission guidelines. It's not a long document, I promise. And by the way, these slides that I'm showing you right now are already up on the Puget Sound Nats website. Thank you to Katie. And the links in these are live, so you can use this if you need it. Please read the video submission guidelines for all the information you need to make sure that you're doing it right. Do it right the first time, and then you won't run into any headaches, right? All videos must be in landscape format, not portrait. So it has to be horizontal, not vertical. And people are running into YouTube issues that have to do with this. So just remember, horizontal, not vertical. Slates are mandatory, and the exact format National wants us to use for that is on the video submission guidelines. So it outlines exactly what order they want the information and how a student should state that. It is fine if you have like a video from a performance that you want to use, as long as it was made after September 1st. You can do a slate after the fact and edit that into the beginning of the video. That is fine. That is totally acceptable. All pieces must be performed from memory, with the one exception being oratorio arias in the classical categories. And please remember, no identifiable markers are allowed on the videos. And this includes the names on the YouTube accounts that they are uploaded to. So if you have a studio that identifies which teacher this student might be a student of, you may not upload the student's videos to that account. Ask the student to use their own account or make an account that is not identifiable. And again, read the guidelines. And I also urge you all, if you have older students who are doing these videos on their own, which is the case for many, please have them read the guidelines as well, so they are all really clear on what the requirements are. For those videos, accompaniment for classical, musical theater, and the Hall Johnson spirituals categories, it is perfectly acceptable to use either a live pianist or piano-only tracks. They must be piano-only for these categories. And it is fine for teachers to accompany students as long as you are not visible on the camera and identifiable. Commercial music categories are a little more interesting. You may have tracks, and those tracks could be piano, but they also could be instrumental background tracks, as long as there are absolutely no vocals, no backing vocals, no harmonies, no vocals, period. You may also self-accompany from memory on an acoustic instrument, or perform with only one live acoustic instrumentalist. And it is okay to use an electric keyboard in that case, if any of those questions come up. But do remember that an acoustic guitar is okay, but an electric guitar is not accepted for these categories. And you don't have to do all of your videos within the category the same way. So you could have one that you sing with a track and one that you sing with an accompanist and one that you self-accompany, for example. And again, it's okay for your voice teacher to accompany. Just make sure that the voice teacher is not visible on the screen. And again, microphones, dynamic mics are mandatory for all commercial categories. And like I said, I don't think we've ever had a problem with this. So just remember. And please, when you're done registering your students, before you hit that submit and pay button, please double check that your category is correct, that the genre is correct, and the age is correct. Double check that you've posted the correct video link in each slot before you press send. So we will vet videos, but it's such a pain in January if you have to go back and find the right link and then redo the thing. So the more you self-vet, the faster and easier and more streamlined our situation will be. If you want to streamline your system for getting information from all of your students, please do take advantage of the form that the national organization provides on the website. It's a student pre-registration information form, which asks your students for all of the little bits of information you're going to need to register them. Oops. Okay. Okay, now we're going to talk about our adjudications. Lots of us adjudicate for other competitions or adjudication systems that are slightly different from how NATS does things. So this is a reminder that we adjudicate according to a rubric, and we don't just judge students against one another. Please make sure you have read the rubrics. They are all available on the national website at the Resource Center. Your score needs to be a whole number, not a decimal, and that is reflective of the entire audition for each student. It should not be an average of the scores that you put in the individual standards on the forms. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, as soon as you see the form on one of the videos we're about to watch, you'll understand what I mean. And then remember, a score of 90 or above is an indicator that this student should advance to the next level. Not all students who get scores of 90 or above will advance, of course. We only advance the top 3 in each category, but that is an indicator. So keep that in mind. There's a wonderful one-page PDF file that is available to you in the Student Resources Center on the national website that is called Adjudication Best Practices. And these questions come from that PDF that is linked above there. Are my comments helpful? Do my comments align with the scores in the standards, the individual standards that you've scored on the top, and in the overall score for the entire audition? Something that we've run into, something that we've run into in the past that can be problematic and usually causes us to get a question from either student or teacher is they get a really high score, but all of their comments were very derogatory, or vice versa. They get a low score and they wonder why all of the comments that their adjudicators made were very positive. And we want to make sure that as you score them, we are also thinking about giving comments that help point out maybe why the score wasn't in the 90s and something helpful about that aspect of your scoring. So please read the best practices document on the website. It won't take you long. Finally, here's an outline of all of the resources that are available to you at the NSA resource on the national website. It is a treasure trove, honestly. And if you are a teacher who also does a lot of adjudicating elsewhere, I find these resources to be helpful for all of the adjudicating that I do, and I do go back to it periodically. It's a really great source of help and advice. So if you have questions for anything throughout this process, please first refer to our Puget Sound Student Auditions Handbook. You will likely find the answer to your question there. If you don't, I bet you will find the answer to it in the larger document on the national page, the full regulations for the NSAs. It is large, but all the information is in there. And that's where Katie and I will go if we can't immediately answer your question. Please also make sure that as you're looking for information, you're looking for answers to your questions, that you use the most recent documents because things do change every year. And all of the documents are updated on the national website at this point. And Katie just updated our handbook on our Puget Sound NATS website as well. If you can't find what you're looking for, though, please do send me an email. And then, as Katie said, during the registration period, you're welcome to email both of us. And towards the end of the registration period, you probably should prioritize getting in touch with Katie because I'll be traveling with family right at the end of the registration period. Okay. Let's see. Does anybody have any quick questions before we go on to our training videos? Go ahead and unmute yourself and chime in if you do. Nobody? Great. Okay.
I think Davida has a question.
Oh, hi, Davida. Can you unmute yourself? I can't hear you, Davida. You're muted.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, hi.
I could not figure out how to do it. Apropos. Anyway, all of this presentation that you're giving us, is all of this also available for us to look at?
Yes, Katie just uploaded a PDF version of these slides.
Okay.
That is on the website right next to the handbook. So it's easy to find.
Okay.
And all the links are live. So you should be able to use that.
Started taking notes, and then you would go on, and I'm like, I didn't get that. So
No need. You can always go back and check. Great question.
Thank you.
Yep. Anybody else? Suzanne?
Hi.
Hi.
For the contemporary category, can we use like a YouTube track for the like a pre-recorded track?
Absolutely, as long as there are no vocals on it.
Got it.
Yeah. So it can be like a whole band in the background or even an orchestra, right? That's okay for the contemporary or for the commercial music categories, as long as there's no vocals. Good question.
And I just
and then sorry, go on.
I want to chime in one thing about that, because some of my students who use the YouTube tracks, you just don't want to have the words in front of them because it's supposed to be memorized. So
right.
Just wanted to remind you of that.
Yeah, totally. And then for the classical musical theater categories, I mean, we've always had just like a live accompanist. But if it's not possible this year, can they use again like a karaoke piano accompaniment?
As long as it's
YouTube?
only piano, yes. Tracks are acceptable as long as it's only piano for those categories, yes.
Okay, Got it. And actually, I have one last question.
Sure.
Last year there was a form that we had to sign for the minors, that we had to have their. Do we have to do that this year?
So that's a great question. We don't have to do that for any of the online auditions. So if your minor student should happen to get into the national semifinals, they will be required to do that if they go to San Antonio this summer. But that's the only time when they'll have to do that.
Makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Good questions. Let's go on. The rest of our time today, we are going to watch the short video. I promise these are all short. The longest one is 15 minutes long. And there will be some repetitive material, but we're going to watch them in their entirety so that they are on the video that you can then go back and refer to yourselves, and the people who can't be with us today can watch it and then take the quiz. So we're going to start with the children and youth categories, and bear with me for a second while I get to the right page here. Okay. That's not what I wanted to do.
Children and youth categories in NATS, National Student Auditions. All our NSA student singers and their teachers, thank you for your time and expertise. Reminders for adjudicating children and youth. Encouragement is important to these young singers. We want these students to have a positive experience at NSA. In your adjudicator comments, you have the opportunity to motivate the students to want to keep singing. Remember, commercial music, classical music, and musical theater are different categories of entry for children and youth. NSA offers these young singers auditions that are for students, not a competition for professionals. An opportunity to learn to enjoy performing in public. An opportunity to share their love of music and singing, an opportunity to receive feedback from adjudicators. NSA children and youth categories are for children ages 11 years or younger in 5th grade or below. Remember, children are not mini adult singers. Recognize children as being unique to their age and stage of development. Children should sing with a physically comfortable vocal range and dynamic. We have categories for youth ages 11 through 14 years old in 6th through 8th grades. Prepubescent voices are also still growing and maturing. Youth should be safeguarded to sing within their current abilities, with an awareness of the intensity and duration of their singing. Some youth may be experiencing natural changes in their vocal range, registrations, flexibility, breathiness, and cracking are all normal in this natural transition.
Did you hear about the new trend called soap nails? All the beauty media are talking about it. Ultra shiny, natural and healthy looking nails, the clean girl manicure is trending.
We want to reward performances of age-appropriate repertoire. For beginners, songs with simple accompaniments that support the melody are good choices. Songs that stay comfortably within a growing singer's vocal range. Copyright-compliant transpositions that fit the singer's voice are encouraged. Song lyrics and text should explore a variety of subject matters from a child's or young teenager's point of view. Songs with words and circumstances the young singer can understand. Songs that encourage children to sound like adults or older teens are discouraged. And songs that ask children to portray adult characters in adult circumstances should be avoided. As adjudicators, we're asking you to write comments and score addressing the standards of performance outlined in the rubrics for classical, musical theater, and commercial music, according to the category you're adjudicating. Please adjust those standards to the age and training level of the student you are adjudicating. For instance, one of the standards is vocal tone. It will be unique to each young singer. Younger singers are still in the process of developing speech, language, and motor skills. Younger singers will not be evaluated on the viability to sound like adults or perform adult repertoire. Some children and youth may naturally sound very mature for their age, but most younger singers are not able to produce mature sounds yet. Next, breath and alignment. Remember that breathing may need to reflect the current state of lung development. Alignment may also need to reflect development and ever-changing body awarenesses, motor skills, and physical coordination of growing bodies. Next, with language and diction standards, remember diction may be altered by baby teeth, missing teeth, or incoming adult teeth, braces, retainers, or other orthodontics. Young singers are still developing fine motor skills, which will impact their diction. The next standard you will be addressing is the standard of musicianship and accuracy. Pitch and rhythmic awarenesses may still be developing in students this young. Early readers are not yet decoding. Motor skills and cognition are still developing. Potential changes in vocal tone range and flexibility will affect pitch control. In older youth, hormonal changes will impact their mental focus. Listen for secure memorization and/or the ability to recover from any memory slips. The next standard is the standard of artistry and expression. As much as the student's age and level of training will allow, they should use their music to communicate their lyrics, share their love of the music they are singing, perform as unselfconsciously as their maturity will allow, remain as focused in their performance as they can. And our final standard we'll discuss in this training video is a standard that does not influence or contribute to the audition's composite score, but we still want to give feedback to the student singers and their accompanist on the standard of ensemble. Is the young singer able to coordinate their singing with a live pianist or in commercial music with a pre-recorded track? Give feedback on the balance of accompaniment and sung melody. And give feedback on the support the young singer receives from the accompaniment. Now on to what happens in a preliminary audition. In commercial music categories only, when the student is singing with a microphone, they are allowed a very brief mic check. Check 1, 2, 3, and that's about all there's time for. All students in a CM category must audition on the same audio equipment when auditioning in person. Points 1 through 7 listed here describe what happens in sequence in a preliminary audition. If you have judged NSA auditions in the past, you may not need to review these points. If you've never judged an NSA audition, please pause your video and read through these 7 points so you're aware of the transition as you move through a preliminary NSA audition. Now on to 5 do's and don'ts on writing comments. Please do address your comments to the student performer at their age and level of comprehension, just as you would talk to a person at that age with that level of voice training. Remember, these are student singers. Do only comment on how the students audition, not the students themselves, somewhat met, or began to meet the standards of performance in the rubrics. You might begin with today your instead of today you. Do address a balance of weaknesses and strengths in the audition, enough so for the student to understand why you scored the audition or standard as you did. Giving all compliments and a lower score is confusing to students. Do address weaknesses or errors in the audition with suggestions that might begin with the words try, experiment with, explore, keep working on, ask your voice teacher if it's a good time to work on, etc. Do share your opinions as such, not facts. You might begin with the words I prefer, I enjoy, I wonder if you, in my opinion, or I'd be excited to hear you. Now on to a few do nots. Do not attempt to teach vocal or performing techniques in comments. There is simply not enough time. 2, do not address physical appearance, gender identity, or ethnicity in any way, including the student's hair, clothing, or shoes. Do not critique the repertoire selected instead of the performance of that rep. If you have concerns about the repertoire you heard, discuss that only with the auditions chair and do not let it impact your score. Do not score based on talent or size of voice or maturity of voice instead of what the student accomplishes with their talent in the audition. And finally, do not ask and do not offer for the student to contact you for clarification. Do not explain your comments by discussing them with the student at the NSA event. Now, on to scoring a preliminary audition. Here are a few reminders. Compare the students to the standards, not to each other. Adjust your expectation for the age and training level of the student. Score based on how well the rubric's adjusted standards of performance were met. Use your expertise to decide the weight of each standard in giving your composite score for the entire audition. Score the performance, not the talent, not the size of voice, and in commercial music, not the instrumental skills and not the songwriting abilities of the students. When you are scoring on your adjudication form, you will see a reminder of the standards. And if scoring online, click and drag a slider showing how well each standard was met. On paper, mark an X on the ticking line showing similarly how well each standard was met. Do not, however, write a numerical score when evaluating the standards. Now on to that composite score. A composite score is not an average of your standard scores. Each standard is not equally important to each listener or adjudicator. A composite score reflects the entire audition, not just one amazing selection. A composite score is not influenced by the repertoire's meeting, exceeding, or finishing well before the audition's time limit. A composite score must fall between 70 and 100 points. A composite score of 90 or above indicates the adjudicator feels that student should advance to the next higher level of auditions. And finally, you must write or type a whole integer composite score in the score box on your adjudication form. Please do not use fractions or decimals in writing your composite score. A quick guide to scoring. If you score in the 70s, that means you heard and saw a few good attempts by the student. If you score in the 80s, that means you heard and saw some successful moments. If you score in the 90s, that means you heard and saw mostly successful moments in that student's audition. We want to thank you in advance for your expertise and time invested in adjudication.
Okay, next we are going to watch, oh my goodness. I get so nervous about sharing my screen, you all. What is our next one? It is commercial music categories. And apologies in advance for the commercials that happened in the commercial music
For
categories.
your time and expertise. NSA commercial music categories welcome varied styles of vocal music, including all those you see listed here and even more. These auditions are meant to be performed on a microphone. On video, that microphone needs to be visible, whether a handheld on a stand or a diva mic, or in person and on video. These microphones should be used exclusively for amplification. Commercial music is about a vibe and a feel, a chance for the audience to see who the singer is as a person, the singer's organic reaction to the song's lyrics. Remember, riffs and fallouts are personal interpretations motivated by singers' emotions. Covers are performed as if the singer is the songwriter. A limited number of original songs are allowed because this is not a songwriting or talent competition. Remember, musical theater is a different group of NSA categories. However, songs originating in musicals are allowed if interpreted in a specific commercial music style that is different from the music style of the originating musical. In musical theater, the singer portrays a character in which the story takes precedence, but in commercial music, the singer portrays themselves. The singer is not required to stay exactly true to how the song is notated, and we don't want singers imitating another artist's interpretation, or we don't want singers impersonating another person's voice. In commercial music auditions, a singer may choose to accompany themselves on any instrument, perform with an instrumental track, or perform with one instrument, whether that's a pianist, guitarist, bassist, or any instrument they may choose. The accompanying instrumentalist may perform the audition from memory or by ear, or using any score composed by the singer. If they use a purchased score or a published score, that score needs to be copyright compliant, whether it is from a book or sheet music. Copyright allows for you to write alterations on a printed score that is copyright compliant, or you may play from a copyright compliant lead sheet or lyric sheet. When students choose to accompany themselves for one or more of their songs, they need to remember that both the instrumentals and vocals must be performed memorized. We ask adjudicators to write comments and address in their scoring how well the students met the standards outlined in the commercial music rubric. Those standards must be adjusted to the age and training level of the student. Perhaps the most important standard in commercial music performance is that of artistic interpretation. So, as much as the student's age and level of training will allow, they should show who they are as individual artists, bring their unique personality to their performances, feel the music in their bodies and voices, make the song their own based on what the song means to the artist. Creative options for making the song your own include altering the form of a song by reordering the song's bridge, verse, chorus structure, altering the original song's dynamics, tempi, phrasing, or keys, or perhaps altering the original accompaniment, its groove, meter, instrumentation, etc.
I don't wear deodorant.
You don't wear deodorant. And you don't smell bad.
You tell me.
No, I don't smell a thing.
Oops.
Actually,
I don't smell.
the first person I find wearing carpet gets...
Sorry.
The next standard you will address is the delivery of the lyrics. The singer should feel the lyrics as if they wrote them. The lyrics should mean something to the singer. The lyrics do not need to be an exact match to the original song, but they do need to be believable as delivered by the singer at their age and level of life experience. Remember, diction is relaxed and casual in commercial music performance. Our next standard we will discuss we call stylisms. Stylisms refers to vocal styling which may include improvised or stylized vocal ornamentation. A student needs to make their tune their own and make those choices grounded in emotion, not just showing off. The stylism choices should be influenced by the style of music being performed. Impressive riffs are not just showing off, but express or react to something. Riffs need focus points and clarity to support lyrics. Vocal improvisation, scatting, or riffing needs artistic attention to rhythm, pitch, phrasing, and scat syllables or words being sung. The next category you will address is musicianship. Solid musicianship should exist in the groove of the song. There should be an ebb and flow of vocal lines. Musical communication between the vocalist and the track or a live instrumentalist should be solid. Songs should have a beginning, middle, and end feel in their delivery. Performances do not need to match the song's original notation, just another reminder. And attention is given to pitch, but remember scooping, bending pitches, falling off pitches, etc. are all valid artistic choices. Our next standard we will discuss is vocal tone. Vocal tone should be unique to each singer. It should be influenced by the style of music performed. Remember, all sounds, whether breathy, airy, heavy, raspy, dark, etc., are valid artistic choices. Coming in and out of fry or pressed phonation would also be valid artistic choices. Vocal texture should vary with the expression of the lyrics. Remember, primal vocal sounds, cries, moans, screams, etc. are all valid artistic choices. Our next standard we will discuss is breath. Breathing may be shallow or noisy in an emotional response to lyrics. Breath support is still important, and breath should be moving freely unless an effect for style. The experience of the song's lyrics will create an energy inside the singer's body that may alter their posture. Phrasing is based on lyrical lines. Breaths may also be taken mid-word for artistic effect. Our next standard does not contribute or influence the audition's composite score, but we need to give singers and instrumentalists feedback on ensemble. A singer should be in time and groove with instruments or their chosen accompaniment track. The chosen style of music felt by the instrumentalist or on the track and felt by the singer should all match. When the instrumentalist is live, including self-accompanied selections, a sensitivity to volume levels should create balance. Remember, instruments are of equal importance in commercial music and contribute equally to the feel and emotion of a song being performed. You may ask yourself, what happens in a preliminary audition? Well, in commercial music auditions, the audition starts with each student performing a very brief mic check. For instance, just simply check 1, 2, 3. When auditioning in person, remember all students in a commercial music category must audition using the same audio equipment. The remaining 7 steps describe exactly what should happen in a preliminary audition. If you've adjudicated NSA auditions before, this could serve as a reminder. If you have not adjudicated commercial music auditions or NSA auditions before, you may pause your video and read quickly through these 7 steps. You should remember, if you feel you already know how an audition unfolds, that the timing does start when the singer begins to introduce themselves and their first selection in their audition. Now, for 5 do's and don'ts on writing comments, let's begin with the do's. Do address your comments to the student performer at their age and level of comprehension, just as you would talk to a person at that age with that level of voice training.
Okay, because some of this material at the end of the video is the same, I'm going to go ahead and move us on to the next one. So our next video will be musical theater.
Auditions. All our NSA student singers and their teachers, thank you for your time and expertise. When adjudicating musical theater auditions, you may expect that the teacher and student chose songs that were selected to include a variety of stories performed in varied styles of music, styles of singing, and tempi from varied eras of musical theater. These auditions are to showcase the full spectrum of each student's voice and acting skills, engaged in embodying a variety of believable characters. As adjudicators, you are asked to score and write comments addressing the standards of performance outlined in the musical theater rubric. These standards must be adjusted to the age and training level of the student. The first standard you will be addressing is vocal tone. Vocal tone should be unique to each singer. It should engage a wide variety of healthy vocal colors, including a variety of mixes from chest dominant to head dominant mixes. The tone may be vibrant or straight tones chosen to serve the character's story and style of music. No song should be sung in one even vocal tone from beginning to end. The next standard you will be adjudicating is the standard of breath and alignment. Inhalation should be easy, full, and efficient. Inhaled breath provides stability, support, and vocal energy, and the body's alignment is dynamic and should be free to express the physical life of the character being portrayed in the song. The next standard is the standard of language and diction. The text should be clearly articulated in the style and vernacular of the character. Articulation should enhance vocal presence at all dynamic levels. The singer should embody a thorough understanding of the meaning of their lyrics, and lyrics should be inflected with an intention to communicate. The next standard you will adjudicate is the standard of musicianship and accuracy. Pitches and rhythms should be accurate. The choice of tempo should respect the composer's markings. All shifts in tempo and dynamics in the score should be heard in the performance in an idiomatic style, contributing to the dramatic arc of both the character and their story. Memorization should be accurate and organic, meaning the performance appears to be spontaneous communication. The next standard is the standard of artistry. The student should be both vocally and physically believable as the character. The student synthesizes both vocal and physical communication to embody a specific character experiencing a specific story. Character's story should have a different beginning, middle, and end. The characters should experience a variety of vocal and physical energies as they move through their song's story. A grounded performance with no repetitious or extraneous movements should be expected. The performance should appear spontaneous and engage the audience. Our final standard does not contribute to or influence the audition's composite score, but we want to give teachers, students, and their collaborative musicians feedback on the important standard of ensemble. You may ask yourself, are the student and the pianist working together towards the same artistic goals? How is the balance of accompaniment versus vocal line? And is the accompaniment supporting the storytelling? Now, if you have adjudicated a preliminary NS...
All right, moving on. If I can get my mouse to work.
Say audition in the past. These 7 steps will...
Okay, next is the... Okay, so this year, even though we're doing Hall Johnson spirituals, the information included in this video also will apply to that. We just won't have general spirituals being performed.
Categories in NATS, National Student Auditions. All our NSA student singers and their teachers, thank you for your time and expertise. NATS National Student Auditions include the Hall Johnson Spiritual Competition, which culminates at NATS National Conventions, and in alternating years, the American Negro Spiritual Categories, which culminate at NATS National Summer Workshops. Be reminded that some NATS districts, chapters, and regions offer NSA spiritual categories annually. Who should sing spirituals and why?
The Negro spiritual is an American music, is a world music that needs to be explored and disseminated and enjoyed. And that the race of the performer means nothing. You either can sing these pieces or you can't. And it really comes down to an issue of your commitment to performing the works.
The American Negro spiritual forms the basis of contemporary American musical styles, such as blues, jazz, and gospel. It is a type of folk song defined by its own distinct features of social function, musical form, and performance practice. Concert spiritual arrangements provide a unique intersection of African American folk music with Western art music culture. This particular format of the Negro spiritual is created to be accessible, to invite cultural appreciation and engagement. Concert spiritual arrangements are not the original or final format of spirituals, but they are a tradition to be celebrated and continued. All NSA spiritual auditions welcome concert arrangements of spirituals, not gospel arrangements, which are welcomed in NSA's commercial music categories. Here are two different artists admirably performing in two very different styles of music and two very different vocal styles.
Jesus will soothe my troubled mind, and all of my heartaches, every burden, all of my misery, all of my crying, every trial, every tribulation will be left behind.
Oh Lord, what manner of man is this? All nations in him are blessed. All things are done by his will. He spoke to the sea, and the sea stood still. Now ain't that a witness for my Lord? Ain't that a witness for my Lord? Ain't that a witness for my Lord? Soul is a witness for my Lord. Now
Hall Johnson Spiritual Competition welcomes classical arrangements of spirituals which have been verified to be arranged by Hall Johnson, all performed with a classical approach to vocal production.
Jesus rides in the middle of the air. Oh, he called the saints from everywhere. Our own King Jesus. No man can hinder me. Ride on, Jesus, ride on. No man can hinder me.
NSA American Negro Spiritual Categories welcome classical arrangements of spirituals by a wide variety of composers, all performed with a classical approach to vocal production.
Come down, angels.
As a NATS adjudicator, you are asked to both score and write comments addressing the standards of performance as outlined in the classical rubric. Please remember you must adjust both your expectations and the standards themselves to the age and training level of the student auditioning before you. Just as in the classical categories, in the American Negro spiritual categories and Hall-Johnson competition, you will be asked to adjudicate the singer's tone, their breath and alignment, their musicianship, and their standard of ensemble. You will also be asked to adjudicate the language and diction, which has some special considerations.
If I'm singing German songs, I want to be able to sound as close to a native German person singing as I can. I'm not saying I would do it, but I'm doing the very best I can. And if I'm singing Negro spiritual, to me, to allow myself to not take advantage of an element that so strongly impacts the effectiveness of singing that song by not singing in dialect. It is putting myself at a disadvantage. And it's also not allowing the audience a chance to hear that music in at least somewhere close to its original form.
For more about the dialect she mentioned, dialect spellings must not be read or interpreted literally according to the rules of American Standard English. Texts are pronounced with less aspirated plosives than American Standard English. Many velar consonants are articulated dentally. Diphthongs and triphthongs are usually reduced to singing the first vowel only. The ends of words may be imploded, darkened, or dropped. All dialects, including this dialect, should be performed naturally and with respect for the culture that originated the dialect, with no elements of mimicry. When examining the text of an American Negro spiritual, the composer's intent must be at the forefront of a decision about performing in dialect. Randy Jones is both an author, singer, and historian. She encourages us when she states, "None of these considerations has anything to do with the racial or cultural background of the singer. Rather, they require the same level of commitment to study as any other area requires." This is a quote from her book, So You Want to Sing Spirituals, a guide for performers, published by Rowman and Littlefield. Now, to hear the dialect as the King's Heralds perform. A few final reminders about dialect. We want these spirituals to be performed and studied. Don't allow dialect to become a barrier to singing this beautiful music. Beginners may start with spirituals that don't have dialect in the text. More advanced students should study the dialect and consult with someone familiar with the style. You will also be asked to adjudicate the standard of artistry.
The person has put the effort in preparation of that music, same attention that they would put into the singing of German songs or French melody or whatever. If they studied the music, they studied the score, trying to find out what the composer's intent is, made decisions about the interpretive issues that are faced by the song. And they stand up and most of all put themselves into the performance of that song. They will have that audience. It won't be a question of this person is white, this person is black, this person is singing spiritual.
If you have adjudicated a preliminary NSA audition in the past, these 7 steps
Okay, we have one more, and this one is shorter. And this one is our classical categories. And then we will wrap up with any questions.
Categories in NATS, National Student Auditions. All our NSA student singers and their teachers, thank you for your time and expertise. As an adjudicator, you are asked to both score and write comments addressing the standards of performance as outlined in the classical rubric. These standards must be adjusted to the age and training level of the student auditioning for you. The first standard you will adjudicate is that of vocal tone. You are looking for resonance and timbre with balanced chiaroscuro and ring throughout the vocal range. Transitions through passaggi are smooth and efficient. Onsets and offsets are clean, clear, and balanced, allowing uniform vibrancy. You should hear dynamic flexibility and subtle changes in timbre appropriate to the style and character of the selection being performed. The next standard is breath and alignment. You are listening for inhalations that are easy, full, silent, and efficient. Exhalations that provide stability, support, vibrancy, buoyancy, loft, and vocal energy. The alignment, coordination, and release of the following body parts should assist in a dynamic engagement of the vocal instrument. The next standard is that of language and diction. Languages should be sung with accurate pronunciations and effective articulations with idiomatic inflections beyond basic phonetics. The singer should display a thorough understanding in communicating their texts. Phrasing and flow should respect the nuance of each language. The next standard you will adjudicate is that of musicianship and accuracy. Pitches and rhythms should be accurate. Markings of the composer, editor, and/or arranger should be present in the performances. Tuning should be accurate throughout the vocal range, and memorization should be secure and accurate. The next standard you will adjudicate is that of artistry. The performances should synthesize vocal and physical communication to embody and express each line of poetic text and/or a character and their story. The performances should embody clear musical intent and embrace the uniqueness of each singer. The listener should be engaged in a believable and fulfilling performance. Our next standard does not influence nor contribute to the audition's composite score, but we want to give teachers, students, and their collaborative musicians feedback on the standard of ensemble. You may ask yourself as an adjudicator, are the student and collaborative pianist coordinating their efforts towards the same artistic goals? How is the balance of accompaniment versus vocal line? And is the accompaniment musically sensitive to the text? If you have never judged or
Okay. I'm going to stop sharing. I see we have a question about ties in the chat, which I will address. Oh yeah, Katie already answered your question. Okay, great. If there are any follow-up questions, please feel free to unmute yourself or write in the chat, and I'll just hang out for a minute or two and make sure that we cover everything.
Hello.
Hi.
This was excellent. I really thought these were excellent. But and where is that written down? Is that in the
Yes.
handbook, or where is
So,
this?
do you mean where, like, all the content of the videos that we just
Yes,
watched?
because I was
Okay.
screenshotting, thinking that I'm just going to look at the screenshots, but
Yeah. No, they're really great videos. I think they were made 2 years ago, and they're really helpful, and they really are short, right? So they are all available. The links are in the PDF of the slides from this meeting. So you can go to the Puget Sound Nats website, student auditions, and you'll find them there. As far as where the texts are, if you go to the rubrics, there is a link in the Student Resources Center, and these links are also present in the Puget Sound Chapter Handbook. You can find the rubrics for each individual genre. So there'll be a rubric for commercial music categories, a rubric for musical theater categories, rubric for classical, and I think the classical one is the same one that they use for the American Spirituals and Hall Johnson, but I don't
okay.
remember. Anyway, go to the student handbook as your first place for those
Mm-hmm.
links. And then if you want further information and even further advice on adjudicating, in the National NSA Student Resources page on the national website, there are
Mm-hmm.
even like sample comments for certain categories if you want further inspiration about
Okay.
how to approach those. There's a lot of good stuff there.
Thank you so much. It was
Yeah.
really helpful. Thank you.
Glad. Anyone else? Okay, well then I'm going to wrap up and say thank you to all of you for joining me today. Those of you who are watching this after the fact and need to take the quiz, please do watch all the videos, because that's where most of the content in the quiz will be coming from. I'll say happy fall, happy Halloween to everybody. Hope you had a great time yesterday in the rain, and we will catch you later. Please feel free to email Katie or I if you have any further questions, but I appreciate you all being here today. And ciao for now.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.